Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. You're watching IMM Media Radio and Television with your humble host, Comrade Misodi. This special show, Political Lab, we bring in very important information about the Ambazonian crisis and also news that concerns Africa and the world. Today, we're going to try to compare these two crises that has been going on for many years. The Ambazonian crisis has started for many years, but the conflict itself started in 2016, and the president of the Cameroon regime declared war on the people of Ambazonia in 2017, and since then the region has been plagued with this crisis. And I want to compare this crisis with that of Palestinian crisis. We are seeing annexation and occupation of a sovereign state, and which is we are going to compare it historically to see how it we can compare and contrast both the Palestinian Israeli crisis and the Ambazonian War of Independence, and we're going to come to that. For the past years, we have seen that the President Biya, the dictator who has been in power for 42 years, he doesn't want to go to negotiation table. He declared war on the people of Ambazonia, and since then, the war has been taking a toll on that region called Ambazonia, southern Cameroon. Today, we're going to talk about how the historical context, the root causes of those issues that led to this crisis as we see today. We are going to be bringing in comparison with the Palestinian-Israeli crisis that is also raging in that region. And from there, we're going to see how those possibilities to end the crisis, because on both sides, Israeli-Palestinian crisis, Cameroon-Ambazonian crisis is raging each region, and the international community should step in. We are, first of all, I want to thank the United States Congress. The United States Congress just passed a resolution. They are trying to issue what they call humanitarian parole to Cameroon, southern Cameroonians, Ambazonians, due to the crisis. Okay, and we are very grateful for all the past resolutions that the United States have passed due to this crisis. Most countries are very reluctant because of the influence of France on its former French colonies in Africa to come to the crisis. But what we are seeing is that for the past 7 years of the Ambazonian crisis, a lot of manipulation by the Cameroon regime, who is known for its corrupt practices. They have hired lobby firms in the United States, in UK. All these efforts have not yielded any fruits. Okay, they have. You've seen all the propagandists and the black legs, the fake peace ambassadors. All these things are what they hired to counter the Ambazonian people. But when you look at the other side of the conflict, the historical context, we are going to be exploring those histories, how the Ambazonian peoples joined La Republic and how they were given two options. We're going to talk about on the other hand, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the similarities and the differences between these two conflicts. Okay, talking about the root causes, the human rights violations, the peace efforts, and the media portrayal of this conflict, and what we look at. Also be looking at the future prospects for peaceful resolution of the crisis, and how the economic consequences and other aspect of the crisis. I will be talking about this. But first, I want you to understand the Cameroon's government is deceiving the West. That those aid that the IMF, the World Bank is giving to Cameroon government, they are using this foreign aid, they diverting this foreign aid to the to buy weapons to fight the people of Ambazonia, okay, in their territory. So is I would say the Biya regime is ignoring these international laws, using those foreign aid assistance to fund its brutal repression of the people of Ambazonia. But what is the problem? The people of Ambazonia have legitimate grievances. The world is neglecting this crisis. We are calling on the international community to put force, to put pressure on the Biya regime to go to the negotiation table. How will this be achieved is still a question of time, but we are going to talk about all these issues. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, on the other hand, okay, and it also has those complexities, the historical disputes, the territorial disputes, and the religious and cultural differences that also is also there. And all these things are things that we're going to talk about to see how these two conflicts have those similarities and the differences between these two conflicts. How along the years those issues have come to play, right? On the other hand, the Cameroon-Ambazonian war of occupation. So remember, the La Republique military is occupying Ambazonian territory, okay? So we're going to be talking about that and see how those tensions between the Cameroon government and the Ambazonian citizens. The Ambazonian people seek independence and recognition, okay? This has been going on for quite some time, but it really went at heat during the 2016 protests, which was between the lawyers and teachers. But that was how it went out of hand, and the declaration of war instead worsened the crisis when the dictatorial president Paul Biya declared war on the people of Ambazonia. Okay, and that is what really escalated the crisis. So this conflict has led to all this type of violence along the years. We have seen violence, we have seen displacement, we have seen human rights abuses. Okay, we have seen all the humanitarian crises that we can see with both crises, right? Even armed confrontation. But while both conflict involve struggle for self-determination and autonomy, they differ in their historical roots. Okay, the actors involved, the international attention, the potential solution differ. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has been a focal point of global diplomacy and media coverage for decades. While the Cameroon-Ambazonian conflict has received less international attention. The reason why we always say the conflict has been the most neglected conflict in the world. Overall, both conflict underscore the complexity of addressing grievances, right? Territorial dispute and ethnic tension, highlighting the need for dialogue, mediation, respect for human rights, peaceful resolution to achieve for a lasting peace and stability in both regions. What we are seeing today is a neglect on the part of the Ambazonian-Cameroon conflict. Okay, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict have that rooted from those historical perspective. Okay, the both conflict concerns territorial dispute too, right? Where you have like public government, military come to occupy the land. In Israel, it's the same thing, right? The Israeli and the Palestinian are contesting that region, the Gaza and the Jerusalem and all those areas where Israel is claiming the land, right? The national identity is something that is very vital. Both Palestinian and Israeli have deep-rooted national identities and aspiration for statehood, leading to tension over self-determination and boundaries in the region. Okay, the status of Jerusalem is a focal point in this area. Both claim Jerusalem. So the city of Jerusalem is sacred to both Jews and Muslims, and has a very focal point of contention, where Jerusalem is considered a very, very important city for both these two entities, the Jews and the Muslims. So it's a very, very crucial point of contention to both countries, where they want Jerusalem so badly. Okay, it's quite different from the Ambazonian conflict, right? When it comes to that issue of seeing one city as their own important city that is very sacred to them. Okay, Jerusalem is very sacred to the Muslim and the Christians alike, and the Jews. So it is very, very big issue. Okay, Israeli settlements is expanding every time. The expansion of the Israeli settlement in the occupied Palestinian territories have been a very major point of contention. Okay, as it undermines the peace, okay, or the prospect for two-state solution that they have been fighting for years and years. Okay, then also the refugee issue is very, very important to note. A lot of refugee issues have caused many displacements in both these conflicts. Okay, on the side of the Cameroon-Ambazonian crisis, it stems from this occupation also. It stems from marginalization of the Anglophones or the Ambazonian minority in their own region, where they joined this union between Cameroon and Southern Cameroon as equal parties. Okay, it wasn't as if one country is going to occupy the other. No, it was on equal status, and that has been the bond of contention all along. And we are hoping that the both countries will come to terms to understand the necessity for peaceful resolution. What is important here is the fact that the conflict has caused a lot of chaos in the region. Both countries have different historical and colonial past. You have from language difference. The legal system is not the same. The cultural between the Ambazonian and La République du Cameroun is very, very different, right? The fact that the people of Ambazonians' rights have been taken, have been trampled upon. They have been calling for greater autonomy and self-determination for the past years. The people of Ambazonia declared their independence in 2017 by the former president Ayok Tabe, okay, who is now incarcerated by the BR regime. So we are seeing this kind of repression on the people of Ambazonia by the Cameroonian dictatorial regime, and leading to increased violence and conflict in the region. Okay, We see also lack of resource allocation, where you have disparities in all these issues. Most of the state owned banks and companies have been dilapidated or went out of business by the Cameroon regime intentionally, so that the people of Southern Cameroon will not have anything to deal with. The airports, the infrastructures, the big companies that were there are all gone out of business. Okay, and that is what we see. Okay, then coming to political representation, when we joined the people of La République du Cameroon, there was supposed to be a power sharing mechanism. That power sharing mechanism was supposed to have a rotative presidency. But since 1961, when we joined La République du Cameroon, there have been two presidents. Those two presidents, one, Amadou Ahidjo, he ruled for almost 21 years. The other president now is the still president today. He has been ruling for 41 good years. So the lack of this political representation of the Ambazonian people or the Amazonian community in the national decision making has really hindered a very smooth process of a federal system that was put in place, okay, and has exacerbated these grievances and demand for independence by the people of Ambazonia. When you look at it, we are going to come and bring some short excerpt so that you can see some historical, about these two conflicts. Okay, I'll bring you this excerpt from.
Where is the Federal Republic of It's located here, between Cameroon and Nigeria. Or, that's where the people of Ambazonia want it to be located. But who are the people of Ambazonia? To answer that, we need to go back in time. Germany established a colony along what it called the Cameroon River in 1884. During World War I, French and British troops invaded, forcing all German forces out by 1916. Cameroon was then divided up, with France snagging most of it, except for this section, bordering the British colony of Nigeria. This was divided into the Northern Cameroons and the Southern Cameroons. In 1960, France granted its Cameroon independence, but the British Cameroons never got this opportunity. Instead, the peoples of the Northern and Southern Cameroons each got to choose between joining Nigeria or throwing in their lot with the former French Cameroon. In the referendum, outright independence was not an option on the ballot. The Northern Cameroons, which was majority Muslim, voted to become part of Nigeria. The Southern Cameroons, which is majority Christian, voted the other way. Its leadership then quickly met with the leaders of the new Republic of Cameroon to agree on a joint constitution. The Fumban Agreement, as it was known, established the Federal Republic of Cameroon. In theory, this was an equal partnership between the two former colonies, but as the English-speaking Cameroonians, or Anglophones, soon learned, the French-speaking Cameroonians, or Francophones, weren't interested in treating them like equal partners. The federal structure quickly failed, and one reason was because it was so unequal. By population, East Cameroon was 4 times larger than West Cameroon. But there was an even bigger obstacle. Cameroonian President Amadou Ahidjo. He simply ignored the Fumban Agreement and started centralizing power as quickly as possible. In 1972, claiming that the federal structure was slowing down progress, he declared Cameroon to be a unitary state, and symbolically, he reduced the number of stars on the flag from 2 to 1. Many Anglophones felt betrayed, but there wasn't much they could do about it. A new president took power in 1982, Paul Biya, who is still in power today, since 1982. This guy has been the dictator of Cameroon for 40 years. Anyway, during the Cold War, Biya positioned Cameroon as a staunchly anti-communist country, which delighted America especially. Ever since, Western leaders have been more interested in keeping President Biya happy than the rights and well-being of the Anglophone population. To be fair, nearly everyone in Biya's Cameroon has had a terrible time, but the Anglophones have had extra problems. Government officials in Anglophone areas often only speak French. National entrance exams for professional schools are often only set in French. And government documents are often available, you guessed it, only in French. These are just a few examples from a long list of grievances, but basically, Anglophones have long felt like second-class citizens, and this eventually led to the eruption of wide-scale protests in 2016. The Cameroonian government, led by Paul Biya, cracked down hard, but instead of ending the unrest, government violence only stoked tensions further, leading to what is now known as the Anglophone Crisis. On October 1st, 2017, a group of activists led by Sisku Julius Ayuk Tabe unilaterally declared the independence of the former British Southern Cameroons, calling it the Federal Republic of Ambazonia. By the way, Ambazonia is derived from the name of the nearby Ambas Bay. Not everyone likes this term though, and many Anglophones still prefer Southern Cameroons. A lack of unity has actually been a huge problem for Anglophone separatists in general. Ambazonian President Ayuk Tabe was arrested by Cameroonian. No one has the authority, but as long as Paul Biya and his faction remain in power and the Anglophone opposition remains divided, that's a long way off.
Thank you. So, we've seen a brief so we have seen the short and brief of what culminated to the crisis that we have today in Ambazonia, southern Cameroon, and the Cameroon government has not relented any further. They keep their military occupation, and they still think that that is the best solution to the problem at hand. Okay, and the Palestinian conflict with Israel, they have similarities with our conflict, right? Where you have the historical roots, you have that territorial dispute, even government crackdown is part of what is also happening in southern Cameroon, like in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And we are trying to make sure that we have these issues, because when you know what is going on, then you understand how the problem can be solved, right? But the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, like the Ambazonian conflict, has been that aspect with historical, you have the territorial and marginalization and autonomy, where both people who are fighting for their self-determination have had problem with the main government. There is that crackdown on in both cases, where the government crackdown on peaceful protests and dissent have escalated the tension. Okay, over the years, we have seen the Palestinian conflict and the Israeli people on rampage, where the government respond in handling the conflict has always led to escalation of the crisis. So we are saying that in all these issues, there is some form of violence and issue of identity, that one party does not want this party to self-determine themselves, right? And that's how you see difference between the ethnic and the cultural factor also coming, okay, where you have the Jews and the Muslim trying to, in Ambazonia, it's about the French culture and the English culture. The legal systems are different, the other aspects are different, and that's why we see most of the time it's very difficult for the English culture to mix up, to get assimilated with the French culture, and has caused a lot of issues along the years. And the people of Ambazonian said enough is enough. They cannot take it anymore, and that's why we see all this happening. But I'm going to play an excerpt about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict so that you can Yes, so that was an excerpt of the history of the people of Israel and Palestine, and we are looking at those similarities and the differences between the two conflicts. Owing at the differences, we saw that the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is deeply intertwined with the colonial history of the region and the establishment of Israel, while the Ambazonian conflict stems from these post-colonial governance issues and the struggle for independence. So it's quite, different, right? Where you have one, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict tried to go back in the historical and trying to establish the state of Israel, while our own crisis, the Southern Cameroon crisis, is more of the failure of decolonization, where Britain and France could not agree on a very peaceful decolonization of these two entities, and today we have that conflict. We also have issue of the geographical scope. Okay, the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is more centered in the Middle East between Israel and Palestine, while the Ambazonian and Cameroon crisis specifically affects the region of Ambazonia, because the Cameroon government come to Ambazonia and occupy Ambazonia, and they are claiming this territory is one and indivisible, whereas it's not the case. Historically speaking, both countries had their independence. One had its independence on the 1st of January 1960. The La Republic government had its independence on 1st of January 1960, while the Ambazonian Southern Cameroon had her independence on the 1st of October 1961. So these are two separate entities, so to say. Okay. Then talk about the international involvement in both crises. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has garnered very significant international attention and involvement. Okay, with various countries mediating peace talks, along the years. Israeli-Palestinian conflict have been there forever. Okay, it's a very, very long conflict. Okay, and they have had series of peace talk, different form of negotiation processes and mediation processes, different peace talk that have not worked along the years. So it's a very, very long crisis in terms of the years. And while in contrast with that of Southern Cameroon and Ambazonia with Cameroon government, the crisis has received less attention, right? I mentioned about that, why the crisis has been termed as the most neglected crisis, okay, due to those reasons, where on one hand, the negligent and the falsehood propaganda of the Cameroon government to go to negotiation table, that things are gone back to normal. But this is the 7th year as we speak. This is the 7th year as we speak, and we see the United States coming in and granting access to some resolutions that have been really helping along the years. Okay, we've seen so many different types of resolution that the Cameroon government has passed, condemning the brutality of the Cameroon regime. Okay, and this has caused a lot of issues where the Cameroon regime is very reluctant to go to negotiation table. On the other hand, the conflict has not garnered that much international support or attention, because they believe to what the Cameroon regime is saying, that the crisis is all things are gone back to normal, right? But if you look at the past few months, it has been very, very bloody the Cameroon military they are losing their lives, the local population losing their life. You just saw the Cameroon military burn a whole market, okay, in Bamenda. These are the scorched policy that we have seen along the years, where the Cameroon military will go and burn an entire village. Okay, more than 500 villages have been burned to ashes. How many people have been displaced? Thousands of people have been displaced. Nigeria is bearing the brunt of our refugees crossing the border to go to Nigeria as refugees. Then we have about 3,000 to 4,000 incarceration of Southern Cameroonian who are in jail as we speak in the dungeons of La République du Cameroon. So these are those neglect that the international community is neglecting. The Cameroon government has run away from two very, very important forms of negotiation, one in Switzerland and the other one in Canada. And the international community needs to start talking of sanctions. We can have a country with a dictator who has been there for 41 years. The guy has shunned all international agreements. This is against international law, right? Also talking of those differences, the human rights violations, or what we have seen in Ambazonia is more than words can explain. We have seen the neglect of this international community on this crisis, right? While the Israeli-Palestinian conflict has seen military confrontation, peace agreement like the Camp David Accord, and ongoing tension over issues like settlement and borders, right? On the other hand, we don't have issue with border. We are not fighting a land. The land is there. The pillars are there. There's people of Southern Cameroon. The United Nations had its pillars and everything settled. So the people of Ambazonia are not fighting a land with La République du Cameroon. They have a fixed land and everything is there. Okay. What is going on today is the issue of occupation or neo-colonization. This is what they call black on black colonization. And this modern era, if the international community cannot stand up to this Hitler type of dictatorship and occupation, it will continue, right? We want to stop this. We have to stop this. Okay. Along the years, the wealth, the resources of the people of Ambazonia have been controlled by the Cameroon regime, right? Yeah, all our resources, the oil and cocoa and coffee, are all been swindled and embezzled or mismanaged by the Cameroon junta. The junta is so corrupt, so much so that they have removed them from so many agreements because of their corrupt nature. Okay, and I don't know how long that would take for the international community to understand that this conflict needs intervention. Unless that intervention is done, this Cameroon government is a dictatorship government that will continue its dictatorship. And they don't they don't respect no international agreements. They don't. Biya is the worst ever dictator. Sometimes I compare him to, I don't see why a dictator like Biya will still be there in power. Then people like Gaddafi, that was brutally killed. You don't see, there's no comparison. Okay, there's no comparison. Gaddafi had every reason to help his people, to make sure that the people using the oil money, Gaddafi gave free education, free health care, free internet, free. Gaddafi was paying even the salaries of the Libyan people. But what do you see today in that country called Cameroon and the occupation of Ambazonia is total chaos. It's total chaos, and the crisis, this economic factor has just exacerbated and has impacted the region, contrary to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Okay, it's so, very, very different, right? Yeah. So we are looking at these as this aspect, right, to help understand what is the issue. Okay, the situation in Ambazonia, southern Cameroon, has indeed been marked by this ongoing violence for 7 good years. As I speak, 7 good years. We have seen human rights violations and this huge humanitarian crisis. Okay, so the conflict in southern Cameroon today is about independent restoration and recognition. The people of Ambazonia are fighting for their independence recognition. They already declared their independence in 2017. Now they are looking at the international community to come in to recognize them, okay, as a people, and that is what they are looking at. So anything that is different from that has no bearing, because the people are determined to take back what belongs to them. Okay, this is about their own future, their own self-determination. Okay, and this has been going on for some time, and they believe that they own what they are looking for or what they are fighting for, and that is very important. Okay, so the U.S. Congress just passed, has been expressing the sense of this House of Representatives, House of Congress, that the plight of the people of southern Cameroon is really something of their attention. So they're trying to grant humanitarian parole. Humanitarian parole is granted to countries who are in conflict. And that is what the U.S. Resolution 1048, okay, that the Congress has just is trying to put in for the House to vote on. This was just put in on the 1st of March 2024, where the U.S. Congress is trying to designate Cameroon, southern Cameroon, a humanitarian parole, and calling on the Department of Homeland Security in the United States to create a humanitarian parole program for the people of southern Cameroon who are fleeing from the violence. And this is very important because the U.S. also, last 2 years, they have been granting the TPS to the people of southern Cameroon in the United States. And it is very important. The United States is the only country that has imposed travel ban. That's the only sanction that has been imposed on the Cameroon government officials who are they are milking fat from this crisis. They are making a lot of money because they squeeze money from taxpayers of Cameroon to fund this useless war that the Paul Biya declared on the people of Ambazonia. Thank you for watching, and you have been watching the Political Lab talk show on IMM Media Radio and Television. God bless you, God bless the world, and God bless Ambazonia. Thank you for watching. Stay connected to your favorite channel. Okay.